You remember the little red button?
Yeah.
Push the little red button. And you may want to put on a seatbelt.
Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Kyoto Bolt fam, it's the director. Chargers fans, what is happening? What is happening? You guys wake up this morning to the same news I did. The Chargers have reworked deals for Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack, creating another $25.9 million in cap space. The Chargers and Tom Telesco have just hit the big red button. This is something that you only really see in Madden franchise mode. This is something that you see in the pipe dream scenarios of any given off season. These are the things that honestly you just don't see from the Los Angeles Chargers. I am in shock right now, dudes. The Chargers all of the sudden have gone from $20 million over the cap to guess what this morning? $19 million under the cap. The Chargers have got money to play with. This is insanity, dudes. This to me tells me that the Chargers, just like they were last season, have doubled down. We are going all in again. All in 2023. Because what you've just done and pushing so much money off the books in 2023 to future seasons is tell yourself, this is it. This is the last hurrah. This is the last, encore, play your best hits chance on stage together with the full band. Because after 2023, things are going to get shaken up, and we're going to give ourselves the best possible opportunity to hit the ground running, make our way for a championship in 2023, and find a way to use all the talent we've signed over the last couple of seasons to make that happen now. And it could be an indication of some big moves on the horizon for the Chargers, not just internally with free agency, but guys, this number is going to continue to grow. This is insanity. What insane times we live in. So let's jump right into it, guys. Before we do, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. You guys want to support the channel, has a good times along the way. Use code DIRECTOR to match your first deposit up to $100. We got a lot to talk about in today's video, man, so let's get into it. Before we do, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. Small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification. Helps me out a lot. Let's get into this madness. Lights, camera, action. Breaking news, the Chargers have just hit the big red button. The Chargers restructure Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa's contract, thus pretty much guaranteeing we've got to find a little bit of, in terms of future planning at the edge position. A guy maybe in an edge class in the NFL draft this season that looks really, really nice to help us maybe plan ahead for losing a guy like maybe Khalil Mack next year. There's a lot of things to implicate in this guy, so we're gonna walk you guys through this, talk a little bit about the numbers game, and then open up the Pandora's box of possibilities for the Chargers and free agency in 2023. We might do a little bit of an exercise in today's video live as well, because again, huge implications here. The Chargers, you guys, it's so hard to express how crazy it is for the Bolts to go in with maximum restructures on Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, and then just double down a couple of days later with Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack. That's absolutely insane. So let's take a look real quick here at the cap space situation, because again, you're not doing this with 4 of your best players, pretty much putting, what is that, like $100 million on the backs of just a couple of players going into next season if you're done there. The Chargers at $19 million haven't even cut anybody yet. There hasn't even been any other moves in terms of like moving people on and off the roster. And we're already $20 million underneath the cap. That's $40 million, poof, out of thin air added to the Chargers. So let's take a look real quick at what the Chargers have done to make this happen. All right, and then we'll get into what more I expect them to do and what that number could reach. I would say realistically in terms of what we have to spend in free agency this year, dudes. From a free agency that went from I don't think we're going to make any moves. We don't have the money to. Meat's back on the menu, boys. Let's go. First, let's take a look at Joey Bosa's contract. Joey Bosa. Okay, Boat fam, prepare yourselves. Brace yourselves. I'm about to show you dudes some numbers, okay? Numbers that might seem uncomfortable to some people, all right? Here we go. Joey Bosa's monster contract got a little bit more monstrous in years to come. So, this season, Joey Bosa's cap number went down to $15 million, but it did push Joey Bosa's cap situation next year up to $36 million bucks. Holy cow, dudes. Almost $40 million for one season of Joey Bosa. That's absolutely ludicrous. But if you're going to do it with any of these players on your roster, you do it with the guys that you know you want to keep around, that you know you want to pay, that you know need to stay on your roster as long as they're willing to stay here. And $36 million bucks, that's a high price to pay. But we're also taking a look at a couple different factors. He'll be age 29 and 30. Just like we were kind of talking about with the Mike Williams and Keenan Allen situation, at that age, you could start talking a little bit about maybe we extend Joey Bosa. You know, next offseason we say, hey, dude, $36 million bucks. That's a laugh. That's a riot. Okay. But, you know, we got to get that number down. How's about you stick around with the Chargers an extra couple of seasons, right? Into age 32. 2027, we'll make it a good time. Let's take some of that money, right, and spread it around. What do you say? Let's keep you a Charger here for a little bit longer. Let's make sure you get this money without getting traded or cut. Because, yeah, the Chargers, they're going to bite the bullet in 2024. They are. Whatever they decide to do, whether it's extension or pay him or whatever, they're going to pay him. Because you're not cutting Joey Bosa in 2024. If you do need to cut Bosa, it's going to be in 2025 where you're saving $25 million. Okay, and then, of course, that being the Justin Herbert extension year, which basically means that the first year the money actually starts counting towards Justin Herbert. That could become a danger for Joey Bosa if he doesn't want to do something like extend with the Bolts. So that's what makes, again, another extension kind of, I would say, almost likely with Joey Bosa. Just because, again, of the age at 30, as well as the big, number that he would be looking at, as well as the risk of cut at age 30 at 2025 with saving $25 million. So just kind of keep that in mind, okay? Next season, Chargers, oh yeah. What Tom Telesco just did is absolutely ludicrous. The big red button. This whole team has gone nuclear. We've never seen anything like this from a Tom Telesco-led era of Chargers, ever. But he just did it. And next season, this number, there's going to need to be some workarounds. There's going to need to be maybe some extension talks, something, I don't know. That's going to be a big thing for 2024. But he made that decision to help 2023. Again, the all-in 2023 Chargers. What about Khalil Mack? Now, this situation's a bit different. Because Khalil Mack, when we traded for him, I assumed that Khalil Mack would be a Charger for a couple of seasons. Maybe if he sees a huge resurgence, we see maybe a year or two extension. At this point, with what they've done, I don't know if that's going to be the case, and that's because of this. Take a look at this this contract here. Okay, so Khalil Mack, still one of the better, edge rushers in the NFL. You could even say one of the best to ever play the game. Let's take a look what he's got on the books for the Chargers. $16 million against the cap for the Chargers this season. Next season, a whopping $38 million. You guys remember what we were talking about with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams? Let's actually go back and look at these real quick. Just to give you guys an idea of what's happening behind the scenes, because this is rather significant. So Khalil Mack in 2024, $38 million. Joey Bosa in 2024, $36 million. Keenan Allen in 2024, $34 million. And then finally, Mike Williams in 2024, $32 million. Well over 100 mil. That's like 50% of your cap, entire cap for you to use for your whole team, wrapped up in what, 4 or 5 players? 4 players? That's absolutely absurd. But you don't do this without a couple of reasons behind it. Khalil Mack, real quick though, will say because of his age at 33, I would say there's a pretty high chance, because there's going to be some casualties from this. Tom Telesco, what he did was ensure that 2023 gives us as good chance as possible for us to make a championship run. What he just did was give us the best odds possible to make that happen. To hope for the best with the Chargers' health, knock on wood, and to take all these superstars to the big game, as well as maybe adding a few more along the way. Okay? But something's going to have to happen. This is the last hurrah. This is the last time you're going to see the band get to play together. You're going to see some pretty dramatic hits in 2024. And I think Khalil Mack may be among them. I think Khalil Mack, this could be his last year with the Chargers. Chargers would save $23 million if they were to cut him next season. I think that's a very high possibility at age 33. There could even be a talk of a trade. Let's say trade. I actually don't know if that really makes it. Again, and he's so old, I think we would only get like a third, fourth round pick for him. So the Chargers, once again, on the hook for some big money in 2024. And again, you can get that number down. The dead cap's going to be crazy no matter what happens, guys. After this season, the Chargers have been so good in terms of not gaining too much dead cap throughout the course of Tom Telesco's career with us. Next season, we're going to see some pretty significant hits. We're going to see some big numbers. I would suspect at least $15 million from Khalil Mack. And Keenan Allen, we're hoping he gets to stay a Charger for a long time. Again, he's in another situation where he's aging gracefully for the position. He could play slot for several years. I hope that we take this money here and extend it through a couple more years so he can play with us until he's 34, 35. But if the Chargers, again, if their butts are against the wall, right, and they got to make a move, that's another $23 million that they could free up right there. Again, a lot of dead cap, but these are the kind of things that you see from players over the age of 32, Khalil Mack and Keenan Allen, right? It's a lot of money tied up in vets. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in the back of your brains. So what I wanted to kind of throw down here with Tom Telesco, too, is that we've never really seen this as Chargers fans, right? This is the first time, at least in my era as a fan, since 2006, that I've seen anything like this. Especially, let's just talk in the shorter window, in the Tom Telesco era, right? About a decade worth of Chargers fandom. Tom Telesco's been a very careful individual when it comes to free agency up until last season. He's been a very careful individual when it comes to dead cap, like we just talked about. I think the Chargers were probably the least dead cap penalized team in the entire NFL for a very long time. That's something to consider, right? These are all very uncharacteristic moves for Tom Telesco, starting from last season. And I think the reason behind that is because Tom Telesco has maybe received some light hints, right? Maybe had dinner with the Spanos one night. They're all sitting enjoying, their filet mignons and 1955 wine, discussing, what they want to do this offseason. And then Spanos looks up at him. I'm like, yeah, let's make it a hell of a finale for Tom Telesco, huh? Let's see what we can do for Tom Telesco while he's still here as the Charger. And Tom's just like, what? I think Tom knows that his seat is red hot, okay? And he's going out with a bang. Because what he's doing now, let's say Tom Telesco's job is on the line. There's one of two things are going to happen. One, he does get fired, right? Let's say that the season doesn't do great. That would suck with everything that we're doing, and that all blows, right? It wouldn't be Telesco's problem anymore. It'd be the next GM's problem to figure out what to do with all this money. They're going to have to start with crazy amounts of dead cap and a whole mess of contracts and numbers and extensions. Like, it would be crazy. That's the first thing that could happen, is that, I guess it's not my problem. Let's go ahead and push the big red button. But option number two, which would be very interesting, he pushes the big red button and it works. And the Chargers, let's hope for a Super Bowl, but let's say they make a dramatic turn. Let's say they go from, that team that was like, oh man, so much potential, underperformed. Maybe the injuries had something to do with it, to holy crap, dudes, this team legitimately is going to the Super Bowl, right? This team has legitimately got a shot at being, they just have that flavor. They just have that rhythm as a team. They're Super Bowl bound, right? That could absolutely happen. And in that instance, not only did Tom Telesco save his job, but he gave the team a runway. And that's something that he can work with in terms of fixing the Joey Bosa situation, the Khalil Mack situation, the Keenan Allen situation going forward. He's fighting for his job. And he just rolled the dice at the high-risk table. Dude, the high-stakes table. He threw down big. I cannot express to you guys enough, like, how big of a gamble we just saw from Tom Telesco, one of the more conservative GMs you'll find in the entire league. He threw down big. So let's talk about how and why a Tom Telesco would throw down this big. Well, first off, I don't think he's done throwing down, dudes. Let's take a look at the calculator here real quick. A live exercise with everybody, because we're not done. This $19 million that we got right now, that's before any cuts. That's before we've moved any players on and off the roster. Man, next season is rough, dudes, but that's okay. Justin Herbert doesn't get paid until 2025. Let's take a look at the exercise here, okay? Because, again, I do not think that they're done. The first thing, again, I still think it's going to happen, more than likely going to happen. I think Matt Filer's done. Boom. We got a guy that's so good in Jamari Sawyer that should step right into his role and give us way better production for way less money. I think that's one of the biggest things you just kind of don't think about. You do it. So Matt Filer, he's cut. Where are we looking now? Chargers, $25 million in cap space. Unbelievable. Well, we ain't done there either. If you're going to press the big red button, you might as well go all in, right? This could be a problem for Chargers GMs in the future. Let's go ahead and restructure Corey Linsley as well. He's going to be a Charger for as long as he wants to be here. Let's go ahead and make sure this man has money moved off the books right now, too. What does that do? Chargers over $31 million in cap space. We hit the big red button, guys. I know some people are like, Director, no, we already dug ourselves a big enough of a hole. I'm telling you right now, at this point, it doesn't matter. That's what happens when you hit the big red button. Okay? You could go ahead and, of course, we do need to cut. Where's the kicker? Dustin Hopkins, here he is. Need to cut the kicker so we can sign another one. There's a couple other smaller cuts that we can make along the way here. I think the only other kind of small thing that we could do, let's grab Sebastian Joseph Day and restructure him too. A couple more $1 million. Okay? And then that's it. Now, in this exercise, I would say in a future video, what we're going to do is we're going to start at this point, okay? And at this point, we're at what? $35, almost $36 million. And then when we start getting to work on some of the more complex Chargers in-house signings, right? We would get to work on the probably Michael Davis extension. I think that's something on the table. We would get work, obviously, on the Justin Herbert contract, which that's going to be a video in of itself. That's going to be a very important one. Going into year 4 now, very, very important. We would talk about maybe an Austin Eckler extension, but not in this video. In this video, we're going to do just a couple of simple things because we have enough money to kind of poke around. The first thing that I'm doing is that I'm realizing as a Chargers fan that this money that's been freed up, it's going to allow us to play with some of these guys on the right side. You see this? A lot of these guys, if not all of them, I felt were going to be impossible re-signings for the Chargers. Right? Big names that I think a lot of us have come to really hope and pray return to the team. Drew Tranquil being a very big one. I still can't tell you guys for sure if he's coming back because of how the Chargers view the linebacker position. If you guys missed it, there's a chance that the Chargers are going to go after Bobby Wagner. Some of you guys would say, what? You're crazy. Let's keep Drew Tranquil instead. I agree with you there. I much rather would keep Drew Tranquil, but Drew Tranquil would be a longer contract, which in the end is probably way more money than the Chargers are willing to spend. Whereas Bobby Wagner is a 1-year deal, and it actually might not be as expensive as a lot of us were thinking. So kind of keep that in mind. With that in place, let's go ahead and bring back Morgan Fox. In looking at Morgan Fox, or sorry, not Morgan Fox, it's going to be Trey Pipkins. In looking at Trey Pipkins, his deals, I think were what? I think it was 3 years, $20 million. So we'll just kind of add a couple of things in here and make sure everything equate up to $20 million. And I do think that the cap hit's going to be somewhere between $4 and $5 mil in the first season of that contract. So we'll say $4 million here. We'll say, let's say $7 million here. And then we'll say like $9 million here. Okay? Does that sound okay to you guys? Again, very simple exercise, but let's bring back Trey Pipkins. I think that you could maybe even bring back a Morgan Fox. And we're going to need a little bit of help with this one. So if you guys don't mind here, let's take a look at PFF. Let's go down here to Edge Defenders. Let's see. Actually, we can just search Fox. We can just search Fox real quick. Morgan Fox. Is he not listed as there he is. He's a defensive lineman. Okay. Morgan Fox, 2 years, $5.5 million average. So you're probably talking in a 2-year contract, like maybe $4 million the first season, and then what, $6 million the season after. So let's go ahead and bring back Morgan Fox, because now you can do it. That's what we've done. That's what Tom Telesco's done. I think you're not going to really find anybody better for less money than that, or even around that kind of way. So I say let's bring Morgan Fox back for 2 years, right? And it's going to equate to $11 million. So let's say $4 million the first year, $6 million the second year. And how they decide to structure that, who knows? Where does that put us all of a sudden? Chargers still at $29 million. That's ludicrous. Okay, and that's with bringing in a couple of very important, big, in-house names. Who else can we do here that's very, very simple? We need the punter back. He shouldn't be too expensive. I couldn't tell you the number. I'll say like we'll just go $1 million for now. It's not going to be very expensive. We'll bring back the punter. We need the kicker, Cameron Dicker, and we can just tender him. That's $870,000. I know they said they're not bringing back Michael Bandy. Anything else that's kind of huge? Again, I really want Drew Tranquill, but I do think they're going to go after Bobby Wagner, if I'm being honest with you guys. If that's the way things are going to go down. So let's go ahead and add Wags real quick. Bobby Wagner. And again, for the sake of argument here, I'm not going to put down the full contract of everything. Let's just go ahead and put the 1 year like we're expecting. And I'm thinking it's going to be around $5 million. Can we take that prorated bonus out? No, we can't touch that. So let's just go $2 million here. Make sure it's an even 5 for 2023. And that's just a 1 year deal. A 1 year deal. Chargers still at $24 million, which is insane to me. You know what this does? This opens up the playbook, dudes. Guys like, again, Trey Pipkins we just talked about. I do expect him to be back with this deal. I think out of the 3 players that we were worried about, Morgan Fox and Trey Pipkins and Drew Tranquill, I think Trey Pipkins has the best chance of getting re-signed. Offensive linemen that mesh with your team, that have that chemistry, that takes priority over any free agent that you could try and talk me into. Almost any, okay? So Trey Pipkins, I think, is coming back. We got Morgan Fox, et cetera, et cetera. But then it also opens up the playbook for other possibilities. You guys remember my tweet a couple of days ago? Let me actually go back and find it. You guys remember that? We were all talking about Jalen Ramsey. Here it is, where I said, I wish so badly there was a way for Ramsey to come play with Derwin here on the Chargers. Guess what? Now there's a way. Now there's a way. There really is. And when you're talking about Jalen Ramsey, and you're talking about a trade all of a sudden, you're talking about the situations we're getting closer and closer to free agency here in just a couple of days, which is now going to be extremely different than what we thought it was going to be a couple of days ago. Things get pretty nuts. And it's not just Jalen Ramsey. I still think the chances Jalen Ramsey of the Chargers are still pretty low, but it's way higher than it was a second ago. Now we're talking free agency as a whole, dudes. This opens up everything. What are some big players, big positions that we could use? Well, let's take a look here. Again, we're talking about some of the guys that we might have to replace going into the future. Wide receiver. All of a sudden, these guys, and maybe this is not the best wide receiver, free agent class, but look at this, Odell Beckham Jr., who, again, a little bit older, but he took a year off, so you subtract that. You can almost think of him as 29 at this point. The Chargers should be, he's holding a special workout. The Chargers should be there. Plain and simple, right? Again, maybe not the best in terms of money or whatever. Maybe they don't want to go in 3 years, but he's on the table now. Who else? I don't want Michael Thomas. DJ Chark, maybe a possibility, right? Fast, tall. Alan Lazard, maybe a possibility. Certainly, Mecole Hardman, a possibility. Now, he's one of my favorite free agents. But not just wide receiver. Who else are we looking at? I think, again, one of the biggest positions that you got to go after in free agency, if you're me, if you're the director, I think you got to go after safety. I really do. I think without Nasir Adderley, you not only need to address that position, but I want to make it better than it was with Nasir. And I like Nasir Adderley. I do. But I think that he could have done more. And I think that another player stepping into this system could do more. I love Jesse Bates, dudes. That wouldn't be a bad signing. $16 million average, probably too much, though. I would say that. Jordan Poyer, couple of seasons, veteran contract. Who knows? That might work out. He looks like he's on a decline, though. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. This is a great one, actually. He's on the rise, right? Looking at some of these grades. He's been pretty dang good, right? He's not your stereotypical huge guy, right? I know that he's not particularly big. I mean, 6 feet tall, decent speed, right? I don't know. I feel like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson has been great with the Eagles and the Saints. Here's a guy that I would certainly want to throw out there, his name out there. 3 years, $11 million average. I'm about that. Von Bell, maybe. I think he's been okay. Jimmy Ward, he's 32 now. Man, that's crazy how much time flies by, but that would still be kind of crazy. I think, and again, Taylor Rapp is probably the most likely. I saw a couple of people already talking about this. Who was it that posted something? I think it was the Guilty Boys, the Guilty as Charged guys. I think that they posted something about Taylor Rapp, and that's absolutely a huge possibility. The Chargers bringing in, I think it was coaching staff that was linked to Taylor Rapp. A couple other Chargers connected to Taylor Rapp, and then of course, Brandon Staley and that defense connected to Taylor Rapp. I think Taylor Rapp is a pretty decent option. Be it, I know he's more of a box safety, right? Either way, I think that another safety is in the cards for the Chargers. Taylor Rapp is definitely a possibility now. Juan Thornhill could be a possibility too. But what about just the top 100 guys? Because again, I don't think that the Chargers... I think two things are happening here, okay? I don't think the Chargers are going to go quite as crazy in free agency as they did last season, where it's like every big name out there, come visit. We're gonna sign at least 2 or 3 of you guys. Last season was crazy. This season, I would say the Chargers are in for at least 1, maybe 2 bigger free agent signings. Okay, and I'm not saying like big, but like decent, pretty big and decent. Maybe 1 splashy name, and then trying to use the rest of that money to bring back the guys in house, and then fill in a couple of other needs here and there. But I do think the Chargers are in play for some big names, including Jalen Ramsey all of a sudden, including Bobby Wagner. Okay. So what are some of these big names here? Javon Hargrave. Could you guys imagine Gravedigger with this team? That would be insane. He is a bit older, and that's a lot of money, but he's in play, I guess. Jamal Dean, corner, one of the better ones in the NFL. He's in play. Levante David, maybe a little bit too old. Orlando Brown, he doesn't want to play anything but left tackle. Daron Payne. Woo! I'd be about a Daron Payne. I don't know if that's going to work out. And it looks like he took a big hit last season. But I'd be big on Daron Payne. Mike McGlinchey would be huge. Who's the other guy that I had written down? It was Caleb McGarry. Caleb McGarry is probably going to get cut too, or at least making a free agency. Huge right tackle out of the, I think, Atlanta Falcons. That'd be a big pickup. Who else do we got here? I think Jacobs is getting franchise tag. Saquon! Dudes, I'm not even playing right now. Saquon Barkley is in play for the Chargers. 1 year, $10 million contract. I get it. But if the Chargers don't want to use that first round pick on, let's say, a Bijan, but they are very, very serious about fixing the run game, Saquon could be on the market. I would much rather prefer Bijan Robinson, if I'm being honest with you guys. But Saquon, he's on the table. He's on the table. James Bradbury, Jawan Taylor, a couple of these guys you can definitely talk me into. Maybe even a Dalton Schultz. I didn't even think about that, dudes. One of my knee-jerk reactions when getting all this money was, who can we bring in from the Cowboys? The biggest name was probably Tony Pollard, and I think he got tagged. Dalton Schultz, all of a sudden, realistically, is an option for the Chargers. Holy crap, guys. I'm actually going to highlight this real quick. Because where is he at right now? 14 mil, 4 years. That's actually not bad. You could probably get this number down a little bit too, I would imagine. I would say if let's say he signed with the Chargers, this is actually a big one I want to test right now live with you guys. Let's go ahead and put in Schultz. Okay, long story short, 4 years, $58 million. I went ahead and did a little bit of the math here. Again, it's very, very rough, very, very rough, but I could see something like this working out. Let's go ahead and transact. So let's say he does take a $6 million cap hit this season. Chargers still at $19 million, even after all these ads. I think Dalton Schultz may be one of the more realistic, maybe all of a sudden, most realistic, splashy name player to the Chargers. Which, again, I know a lot of us want Dalton Kincaid. I know a lot of us want myself, Michael Mayer. What's funny is I think it's come down to this on social media. I think Guilty is Charged. Steven loves Dalton Kincaid. I love Michael Mayer. Either way, I think tight end is something that's very much so on the table in this year's draft in particular. But all of a sudden, guys, Dalton Schultz should be able to bypass all of that. Not only is he a great fit with Kellen Moore and Justin Herbert, but he's already developed. I know that I would say the ceilings of both Kincaid and Mayer are much higher, or could be much higher than Schultz, but Schultz is already proven and already very good and not entirely too old either. 26 years old. He's about to hit that stride. I don't know, dudes. I'm actually kind of about this all of a sudden. And now that the Chargers are likely going to have some complications at wide receiver and edge next season, I would say prioritize those two positions in the first and second round. Grab an edge in the first, wide receiver in the second. Try and smooth out some of the complications you're going to need to massage out and work out in 2024 with maybe Keenan and Khalil. I don't know, dudes. And then you can still get yourself a tight end by signing a guy like Dalton Schultz. This is crazy. And this is what free agency does. This is why we got to be all crazy invested in free agency coming up on Wednesday. I was not. I was literally just going to let it, I'll cover it. We're going to sign a couple of guys here and there. No, dudes. I think all of a sudden the Chargers are in play. I think we're going to get at least one splashy name. I think all of a sudden Dalton Schultz fires up to the top of my list as splashy potential ads by the Chargers in free agency. We can still, bring in a bunch of the other Chargers. Maybe, like a Morgan Fox, Trey Pipkins. I'm really hoping for Drew Tranquil, right? But either way, we've already signed a good number of players, and the Chargers, at least in my exercise, still have $19 million to play with. This is going to be a big free agency, dudes. And I think, again, Chargers, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what they do with their last chance at going all in with this superstar roster that they've put together. So you guys in the comment section below, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. It's about to get nuts out here, dudes. It's going to be about to get absolutely insane. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. Look for more content coming up. So I know this is a third video in a row this week, but we got to talk more about free agency specifically. Today was more about Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, and what we can kind of do with the money now. Now let's do. Now let's see what we actually want to see happen and see more of these narratives that are unfolding in terms of, players being added to the free agency market, because this, PFF that I'm showing you guys right here, this isn't going to be the complete list by Wednesday. There's already players that are being rumored that are going to be cut. Leonard Floyd, Leonard Fournette, I think Lance Kendricks, Frank Clark, Byron Jones, Robbie Anderson, Shaq Griffin, Braxton Berrios, Adam Thielen, Bud Dupree, James Robinson. All these guys are going to be free agents, and they're not even listed here yet because they have yet to be released into the free agent pool. It's going to get nuts out there, dude. So should be a very interesting one. Well, guys, again, thank you for joining me. Catch us in the next episode. It should be very shortly. I'm guessing Monday. It'll be a very interesting and exciting free agency, guys. We'll catch you next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty. Like and sub on your way out, too, man. It's going to be a fun ride this offseason.